10 World War II ration tricks so extreme they turned scraps into feasts, and you'll want them when times get tough. If you think stretching groceries today is tough, wait until you hear what families pulled off during World War II. These weren't mild money-saving tips. These were hardcore survival hacks crafted in kitchens where sugar was a treasure, butter felt mythical, and every crumb mattered. Yet out of that pressure, cooker came some of the most ingenious, resourceful, and downright bold food tricks ever used to keep people fed and spirits high. And trust me, once you hear these, you'll never look at your pantry the same way again. Let's dive into 10 wartime hacks that took scraps of scraps, and sometimes the stuff you'd sweep off the cutting board, and turned them into meals that kept millions going. Making fake fat taste real was, well, something of an art form. Butter was practically outlawed by scarcity, but home cooks refused to settle for bland meals. They became masters at transforming margarine, a pale rubbery block, into something suspiciously close to the real thing. The trick was kneading in a tiny packet of yellow dye that came with it, warming it with the hands folding it until it took on colour and a creamy texture. Some went further, adding a splash of milk or a pinch of salt to mimic the richness of dairy butter. This wasn't just a substitute. This was morale-building alchemy in the middle of crisis. Turning potato peels into dinner. Potatoes were precious, so throwing away the skins would have felt like burning fuel. People learned to turn those earthy peels into legit meals. Fried peel crisps, peel soup, roasted peel patties, anything to stretch a single potato into multiple servings. They boiled the peels until soft, seasoned them with whatever was available, even mashed them into mock meat fillings. The surprising part? With the right seasoning, nobody even complained. In fact, some families kept making peel dishes even after the war. Sugarless sweets that actually worked. Now, that's something. Sugar was rationed so tightly that baking became a real puzzle. Home bakers responded by mastering alternatives like grated carrots for moisture and sweetness, mashed beets to add colour and flavour, honey stretched with water, and even boiled-down syrup from fruit scraps. Cakes, cookies, puddings, they all made comebacks without a grain of refined sugar. The superstar trick was using dried fruit purees, which gave desserts body and a slow, rich sweetness that honestly made people forget the shortage. Tea leaves reused like a precious commodity. Tea was just too important for only one use. Families dried previously brewed leaves on windowsills and reused them, sometimes 2 or even 3 times. Some folks even mixed in tiny amounts of dried herbs to disguise the weakening flavour. Others simmered the leaves longer to extract every last drop of strength. It sounds desperate now, but back then it was normal to brew second tea when guests visited, so the stronger first batch could be saved for the next day. Cabbage as the great extender. Cabbage became the MVP of the war kitchen. It could bulk up soups, stretch stews, replace noodles, and fill pies. People used it to create mock salads, mock stuffing, even mock steaks. Yes, frying thick slabs of cabbage and seasoning them with whatever savoury elements remained. Cabbage kept dishes hearty and filling when the actual ingredients were scarce or, sometimes just non-existent. In many households, if you didn't have cabbage, well, you simply weren't cooking. Making meat out of oatmeal. When real meat disappeared from most dinner tables, oatmeal stepped forward like an unlikely hero. Mixed with onions, herbs, or maybe just stock scraps, it became oat sausage, fried into patties that, surprisingly, had bite and texture. Some folks cooked oatmeal thick, chilled it until firm, then sliced and pan-seared it to, mimic meatloaf. On camera today it sounds wild, but back then these oatmeal creations kept protein on plates when stores couldn't. Stretching milk with a bit of magic. Milk shortages hit families hard, especially those with kids. The workaround was to blend powdered milk with whatever fresh milk could be spared, turning 1 cup into 2 without too much suspicion. Cooks learned the art of whisking air into mixtures to mimic cream, and, using diluted milk for puddings, sauces, and custards. The return of bone broth, folks. Bones were, gold. Once the meat was stripped, families boiled the bones for hours, sometimes even days, extracting every possible nutrient. Then they cooled the broth, scraped the fat, reheated it, and used it as the base for multiple dishes. Soups, gravies, casseroles. Bones were reused again and again until they literally crumbled. Some households kept a perpetual pot simmering, adding scraps daily. It was, the original slow cooker hack. Repurposing stale bread like it was fresh. Bread never really went stale. It simply changed roles. Yesterday's loaf became today's filler puddings, dumplings, thickeners, croutons, stuffing, mock pastries, or fried bread slices that, pretended to be French toast. Nothing was wasted. Even breadcrumbs were gold because they could stretch ground meat, add body to soups, or coat vegetables to mimic fried foods. Vegetable water as liquid flavour. The water left over from boiling vegetables, something most people dump without thinking, was used as a flavour base during the war. Carrot water, potato water, cabbage water, pea water, all became stocks for gravies, soups, and sauces. Some households even drank it warm as a makeshift broth. It sounds simple, but when supplies were thin, this nutrient-packed liquid was a quiet lifesaver. These hacks weren't created for fun or trends. They were born out of necessity, grit, and a fierce refusal to give up. And when you look at them today, there's a strange sense of admiration for how intelligently people adapted. It makes you wonder how much we waste now, and how much we could do with what we already have if we approached our kitchens with the same creativity. If you love learning how ordinary people survived extraordinary times, make sure you subscribe to the Forgotten War Fronts and share this video with someone who appreciates real history and real-life wisdom.